WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
FM 88.1 WHPR, Highland Park.
WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
I pledge to stay drug-free.
I plan to stay drug-free.
I pledge to stay drug-free.
I pledge to be drug-free.
I pledge to stay drug-free.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we've got a very, very enlightening half an hour of real news with real people today. But before we get started, our show is live. Our calling numbers are area code 313-868-0342, 313-868-0351, 313-868-4336. Website is www.tv33whpr.com, and you are watching us live from the awesome cities of Detroit, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Michael Duggan, as well as the fantastic city of Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Hubert Yap. And before we get started, just want to do a couple of shout outs. One, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my brother. Today is his birthday, and that is Chappelle. And also a shout out to a longtime friend of mine named Roz, who also is celebrating her birthday today as well, too. And just want to keep a couple of friends lifted up in prayer. Young lady, her name is Carol, and another lady who lost her son, and her name is Pauline. So again, keep them lifted up in your prayers. But today, we're going to talk about a proposal that's going to be on the ballot. My special guest today is the Honorable Keith D. Williams, former Wayne County Commissioner, and now currently he is the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party Black Caucus. And I know Keith has got so many other titles, I probably don't even need to say his name, because I'm sure everybody, when they see him, they recognize him as the man with the hat. But today, my special guest is Mr. Keith D. Williams.
You know, it's interesting. I had a call. I was going back and forth with some people from HUD. Mm-hmm. And the guy, the name they sent to me, I said, your name sounds familiar. He said, are you the guy with the hat? So that hat has made an impression on a lot of people.
But that's a good thing. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of haberdasheries that probably will look at you and want to go and model their hats with you. So just like how some people do the suits, I guess you'll be the person that they'll be modeling their hats and stuff with.
Yeah, I got me a Dobbs. I got me a hat right here.
Now, see, that's showing right there when you say a Dobbs. Listen to it.
No, this is a Dobbs. I got it from Lewis the Hatters. That's where I get my hats from.
Well, that was a shameless plug for Lewis the Hatter right there. So now they should probably give him a little bit of.
We need a brotherhood, Lewis the Hatter.
Well, that might be you. All these hats that you collect.
You know, maybe one day I'll come back as a haberdasher.
Well, today you hear representing the Michigan Democratic Party Black Caucus.
Yes.
But talk about a little bit. We've got a couple of proposals that's going to be on the ballot in November, on November the 2nd. And one is Proposal R, and another that's going to be Proposal S. Talk a little bit about Proposal R first, and then we can get into a little bit about Proposal S.
Basically, Proposal R it's about establishing a voter-supported reparation committee to make recommendations for housing and economic development that address historical discrimination against black communities. All we asking the citizens to do is vote to create this committee so we can make recommendations for the past ills of racism and white supremacy that happened to blacks back in the day, starting at 1792.
So talk a little bit about what is reparations.
Reparation is a repair for all the what has happened to us economically, spiritually, mentally, and all the things that have trapped black folks from making money and creating wealth throughout their existence throughout our existence on this earth.
So when you talk about reparations, reparations started as what here in the city of Detroit?
Well, let's look at it. Reparations really it was started, they say reparation. Ray was out there speaking on it, but John Carnes came out with H.R. 40 that deals with reparations from on a federal level that deals with slavery. And slavery intimated into this other process where we're dealing from a local perspective with Robin Ruth Simmons. One is dealing with slavery, and the other one is dealing with local laws like restricted covenances, ordinances, and zoning laws that created this havoc that took wealth from Black African Americans to meet the needs of families and all that other stuff, like any other family in America or throughout this country.
So how did the Michigan Democratic Party, Black Caucus, get involved in this process?
You know us, Don. We always coming up with something. First it was Kamala Harris. Second it was Joe Biden. And then third we was talking about it back in February. This is amazing. It's amazing how this thing has matriculated to where it is today, man. I remember we was on a Zoom call. Really, folks, what happened is I was watching TV one night with my wife at 10 o'clock in the 10 p.m., and there was this show. Don got to remember this show. It's a black show, well choreographed show that dealt with black issues, and it was on Channel 7. And so they was talking about this young lady named Robin Ruth Simmons about local reparations. And now, mind you, I was going through my my metamorphosis in this thing about reparations because I'm a pragmatic guy when it comes down to economics and business. And so, and I just think, at first I had said to myself, do we really need that? But then when I started thinking about it and started hearing and started remembering and started what I've gone through, I said, why not? They owe us, man. We didn't get our 40 acres and a mule, but Robin Ruth Simmons ignited me to do something about local reparations from a Detroit perspective. And I said to you guys, I came to you guys and I said, let's do this. And guess what we did? First we tried, we had to get the language done, so we went to Todd Perkins, and then ultimately, and secondly, after that we went to Cam of Cobra, and they tweaked the language so we can meet the needs of our political structure. And then we went out to try to get signatures, and that bombed, okay? But we had a plan to go to the city council, and we went to the city council, and the rest is history. I give all kudos to Mary Sheffield, because she shepherded through, and I pushed it through. I was pushing the envelope on the political side, and she was doing her internal side with her colleagues to make sure this could become to reality, rather. And so after that, the rest is history. It's on the ballot in November. We passed the smell test, and guess what? The language was very simple. Create a committee to make recommendations on economic development and housing. You can't get no better than that. But then, Diver, and I also think about it, people will ask you, why those two? Well, that's where all the wealth was stolen from us, from housing and economic development. If you look at Black Bottom, Hastings Street had Paradise Island had it was a blossoming. Black folks spent money against each other. They was growing their economic base, and then Eric Cobo came up with this idea to label Black Bottom as a slum, and then they used the word slum, to use federal dollars under the auspice of urban renewal. And guess what happened? 375 and I-94 was created, and guess what else? We were thrown to the wolves, and we was moved out of our place, moved out of our space where we was trying to do something with it. And guess what? And the rest is history. It's now Lafayette Park.
Well, and that's something that, you and I have talked about this a lot, Keith, when it comes down to like even the Burwood Wall.
Yes.
That
was in 1941.
Right. And so kind of bring us up a little bit about some of the inequities that has happened to black people here in the city of Detroit. Because now this proposal is just for the citizens and the residents of the city of Detroit, correct?
Right. Let me just say, everybody would benefit from it, from the tax base.
Okay.
When you got new housing, you bring in certain incomes into the community, and guess what happened? When you got certain social and economic skill sets, ultimately that raises the quality of life and the economic base of a community. I thought about this the other day, and I said land acquisition should be our first initiative when this committee come to fruition. And why I say that is this: it should be called the reparations. I had the word for it. I just got a temporary silence. A reparation land bank. Okay. It should be a reparation land bank where all that unused land on Dexter and those areas, that should be given to the reparation land bank. And then from there, whatever the tool we use to repay back the reparations, that should be that some of that money should go acquiring the land and redeveloping the land.
Because that area used to be very prominent with a lot
of
businesses.
Yes.
Because I used to get corned beef up there at Esquire, at the corned beef place, and some of the other places up along Dexter, near Davison, Waverly, Buena Vista, all up through there. But it's sad looking at how there's a lot of this land that's being taken from us,
right,
that needs to be.
Think about this. Imagine we couldn't get FHA loans. Mm-hmm. Imagine we couldn't participate in the GI Bill. Imagine they had restrictive covenants where you couldn't move in a certain neighborhood.
Right.
Okay. That was part of the whole 1943 race riot. But even more importantly, the race riot started in 1943. The first one was in 1864 when a white lady said a man of color tried to molest her. You can go on in our history. Either it was a white lady that participated in the part of that whole deal of accusatory situation that charged those guys to either hang us from the tree or enslaved us, okay? And when all the torment we went through, and then you fast forward, and even in 1921, after black folks at 1910 to 1930, there was the great flood of black folks coming from the South into Detroit because of what? Ford Motor Company said they're going to pay $5 a day, but we only got $3, okay? Right. And then they had to find a place for us. So guess what? We migrated to Black Bottom. And in that process, it was two the mayors that were Republicans that did all the harm to us. How ironic as we move into to 2021, and from 2021 it was Donald Trump and the Republican Party. It was Mayor Jeffries and Mayor Cobo that did all the damage to us. Two Republicans, and in the middle of it was Antwerp. Antwerp was a Democrat. He didn't stay long. Okay, so those racist practices just ain't started yesterday. It's been going on and on for a mighty, mighty long time.
And that's so interesting, Keith, because now here they have changed the name from Cobo Convention Center to now TCF, and eventually My understanding, they may change it again to
Right.
Huntington.
Right.
But now the Jeffries Freeway, is that the same Jeffries that you're referring to?
Yes.
So now it's the Jeffries Freeway named after somebody who
Racist. They need to change the name. Think about this. In 1792, Macomb was the first owner of slaves. He owned 28. Subsequently, DeQuinder, Livernois, Macomb, and all them, and Cass, a school that you went to, was named after a slave. Okay? And guess what? We ride down the streets every day. Our kids walk through the hallways every day of slave owners. Okay? Jeffrey was the George Wallace back in his day. Him and Cobo, they hated African Americans. Okay? So we still drive down their streets. Came to their senses with Cobo. Anything with Cobo's name should be eradicated out of our thought pattern, especially Jeffries. Okay? But it takes the willpower of African Americans to lead a charge to right or wrong.
Well, and that's the thing, because, there's a lot of people that don't really realize the history of Detroit. And if they would start looking and reading some of the history books, they'll see some of the inequities. Like, even I was looking on the news the other day, and they're talking about Ossie and Sweet.
Yes.
That, what happened with him.
There was a family doctors before Ozzie and Sweet. When that happened to Ozzie and Sweet, there was somebody before Ozzie and Sweet that happened to him too.
Who was that?
I can't remember the name, but I can bring it up next time you invite me to your show. I will have that. But Don, we went through a lot as African Americans. Even now, I'm just finding the history of the Williams. My great grandfather was born into slavery. Man, there was 5 or 6 Charles. The slave owner gave each one of them name Charles. Okay, they don't even know. I can't even find any history on them.
So what a lot of African Americans need to do is to go into genealogy.
Yes.
And to look at their heredity chart,
right,
to see where they descended from.
Right. If you don't know where you come from, how you going to know where you're going?
And see, that's the biggest thing that a lot of people don't really realize, is that you need to know some of the people, because a lot of, there's a melting pot of cultures that we have, in us.
Right.
That, like you said, that migrated from the South. I know my father, his people from Jackson, Mississippi, that migrated up here. And then that was one of the first places that my father worked at, was at Chrysler. And that was a lot of people that wound up coming up here.
They came to run away from the torment and the racism that was upon that was pushed on them through in their history in the South. They were trying to get away from that, man. Trying to get away from tyranny, racism, and outright enslavement, man.
So explain to me, why would somebody not want to vote yes on Proposal R?
Because they just don't know.
So that's why I've got Keith Williams on the show with me today, so that he can make certain that people understand the importance of Proposal R. Why? Because Proposal R is the why.
Yes.
Proposal S is the how.
It's the how. It's supposed to be the economic engine that drives the reparations.
Okay. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more? Because I know in Evanston, they utilize the cannabis industry and they tax the cannabis industry.
And eventually that's what we'll be doing too.
Okay.
And the bottom line is, you got to look at the form of government. They're a city manager-run government in Evanston, Illinois. We are executive-run governmental body in Detroit, where the mayor is in control, and the legislative body is the city council. Mm-hmm. They got a city council mayor and a city manager running the whole process.
So when it went on the ballot, it was approved by the city council, a vote of 8-0 to put it on the ballot.
Yes. This is the first time in the history of this country, me and Robin Ruben Simmons talked about that we're doing a ballot initiative. She said this yesterday. There's no way around the country that's doing what we're doing. We're taking to the citizens and let the citizens participate in the process.
And that's the way it should be.
Yes.
Because it's the land of the free, but at the same time, too, you're talking about the power to the people. Now, explain, because you and I have talked about this before. that we want to look at turning your pain into power. Explain that.
See, to me, the pain is what we've gone through historically with the racism, the degradation, and all of that stuff. And so now you have to change a chance to vote reparations in and change that whole dynamic from pain to power. Think about this. We're 85% black, and we don't control nothing. We gave up our power during the 2000 mayoral race, and I wrote an article in the paper, the end of black political power. As we speak, we have black political power. It's almost at a lowest ebb in life. Okay, so this reparation is getting black folks back engaged in black political power. It's all about self-determination. That's what reparations is about defining your own story and taking care and doing for self, not letting them do for you. That's what this is all about. This is about reclaiming our space. This is about gaining wealth that was taken from us. Up until 1970, black folks could not live in Rosedale Park. From 1970 to 2010, 835,000 white folks left the city of Detroit. They left us with the cupboards bare. The tax base ran. And so then some sophisticated Negroes followed them, thinking the pasture was greener. But now, since Comey Young got Comey out the way, and subsequently the other mayors came in to take over Comey Young's spot, but there would never be another mayor like Comey Young because he loved black people. I'm not mad at nobody else, but I love me some black people through the bad, the good, and the in between. We still eat neck bones and white potatoes periodically. We still know how to eat some pinto beans and cornbread. That's the kind of Negroes I grew up with. But I'm not mad at nobody else, Darwin. I just think we are due for all the harm that was caused to us. But guess what? We don't want to give cash payments. The cash payments is, to me, let's grow our economy. Let's create new housing. You create new housing, you create schools around new housing. You give our kids to get educated. You know what I'm saying? This got to get back to getting back to our Afro-Central roots, the roots of blackness. What is blackness, man? The soul day and black power and all this stuff that meant something. Now it's been diluted because of self-aggrandizement. Everybody got this ego. They want to live the life of the rich and famous. Man, I just want to be around some black folks that want peace.
Well, but that's good because, like you said, it's not about the self-aggrandizement. It's basically about trying to do for other people.
Yes.
And then when you look in the mirror, just like you with your courageous ink, with some of the things that you're doing. Now, because we've only got a few more minutes left. This half an hour is going by real fast, Keith. But before we wrap up, you've got an event that's coming up on the 23rd of this month. Give a couple minutes about what
really
that event
is called. Last year, I told some brothers, Hester, Stephen Mohammed, that we need to do something to bring black men. And I talked to Darwin about this, how we bring black men together to reclaim our space, our place in this space. And I have this saying, for black man is to make it in this space, he's got to be healthy, he's got to be wealthy and wise. The wise perspective is he's got to be spiritually connected to the source. If you're spiritually connected to the source, you don't harm your fellow man. The wealthy part, if you ain't got no ends, you can't take care of your surroundings, and you can't take care of your family. And health. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a prostate cancer survivor because I was in tune to my body and I was in tune to my doctor. It's a lot of, but you don't have to die from prostate cancer. A lot of brothers are dying from prostate cancer because of the manhood thing, okay? I'd rather be able to see another day than worry about my manhood thing. You know what I'm saying? And so what I'm trying to do is we got Wayne State, health professionals. Their mobile truck will be there. We got a job fair. We got speakers coming from a young brother named from Wayne State, a PhD guy. We talking about education. We got a young doctor going to be talking about diabetes, prostate cancer, and all this other stuff. And then we got Jeffrey Millers, who used to be on Channel 20. He's going to be talking about entrepreneurship, the new way, our new process of gaining wealth in this country. And then we're going to have a town hall meeting on reparations. How would it affect black men? To me, black men, we get our shovels back when we get our land back, and we can build again. We can create our own oasis of economic hope and prosperity and things like that. Darwin, do you realize this? It would take 228 years for African Americans to catch up with my white counterparts economically. 228 years. So that's why we deserve reparations.
Well, now give the date, the time, and the location.
October 23rd at Wayne CCD, the Outer Drive campus. Now I give kudos to Dr. Ivory for making this happen. You talking about a brilliant brother is Dr. Ivy. He's got almost 50,000 students, man. Okay, so this is just Joe Biden thing is very important, free tuition, community college tuition. That's important that every African-American young man that's out of high school go to the community college because it's free. And so it's going from 10 to 5. We're going to have lunch for the first 100, okay, because we don't know who's coming. And we're going to have a good day of love, fun, and a brilliant introduction from Teller Chapman. The brother can bring it. And so I'm just trying to get back to the healthy, wealthy, wise perspective. And because black brothers, if a black brother is not productive, the community will not be productive. The family will not be productive. Sisters, I had a thing about some years ago, and I said, every man's battle, sister's yours too. That's your battle too. And vice versa, a woman's battle is a man's battle too. We got to get back to the source of love and kindness and everything, bringing our families back. Because our families are discombobulated now. It's all going in different directions. So I just remember the family I grew up in, the family I used to know. Mm-hmm. Daddy went to work, mama prepared the food, they argued a little bit, they made a lot of babies too in the process, but guess what? It was about love. And that's what black folks, we need to get back to, loving each other as we love ourselves and love God with all our heart and soul.
Well, that's a great way to end this segment today, repeat that again. We need to what? We need to love.
Love each other and love God. Like I said, love God with all your heart and soul. Love your neighbors as you love yourself, and love God with all your heart and soul. If you love God, then you should not hate your fellow man.
Amen. Amen. So we're going to put preacher on your name next.
No, man. I want to thank you for, I got a senior moment senior moment sometime.
Well, we'll have to have you back on again. Again, remind everybody, Keith, they need to make sure that they register to vote on November the 2nd.
And vote yes on Proposal R and yes on Proposal S.
So Proposal R is the why. Proposal S is the how.
The mechanism on how we derive the economics.
Great. Well, Keith, we'll ever have to have you back on to celebrate the victories of S and R after November the 2nd.
Yes.
Again, I do want to thank my special guest today, the Honorable Keith D. Williams, the man with the hat. Next time you'll probably see him, he'll probably be promoting other hats that he'll probably have.
I got about 20 hats at the house right now.
But I do want to thank Keith. Again, make sure you vote November the 2nd. And also, if you got your absentee ballots already, vote yes on R, vote yes on S. Thank you, Keith. Definitely want to thank Valerie Lockhart, who allows us to come on every Tuesday. If you'd like to get a copy of the Detroit Native Sun newspaper, you can get a copy of the Detroit Native Sun newspaper at any of the Kroger supermarkets and other venues throughout the city. If you'd like to advertise in the Detroit Native Sun, you can contact Ms. Lockhart at area code 313-457-5944. Again, thank you, Keith. Thank you to R.J. Watkins and also to Henry Tyler and everybody at WHPR. Have a great rest of this afternoon. Peace.
You're watching WHPS TV, Detroit Live.